Hello chess neurites. Have you ever faced the London system and felt trapped in a slow and suffocating positional grind? Your opponent develops effortlessly, locks down the center, and suddenly you are the one struggling for counterplay. Enough of that. Today, we break free from the shackles of the London with a rock solid system that neutralizes white setup and gives you a safe and reliable position. No passive defense. This is how you take control and shut down the London for good. Let's dive in. As we all know, in London system, after d4 and d5, white plays the move bishop f4. By the way, this system can also be played by those who play knight f6. So after knight f6, if opponent plays bishop f4, then you can play d5 and it would transpose to the position that I would be explaining. So after d4, d5, bishop f4, there are different types of move orders through which London can be played. So one of them can be knight f3, knight f6, and then bishop f4. So, but it would more or less lead to the same setup. So bishop f4, we can continue with the regular development, that is knight f6. Opponent can play e3. As I said, knight f3 is also possible, but knight f3 and then e3 would happen. Not that big of a change. Black can play e6. Now, white continues with the regular plan, knight f3. So, here is where, please be careful and play the move bishop d6. So, we are challenging this active bishop of white. And please remember, in London system, fighting for the e5 square is really important, and by playing the move bishop d6, you are actually challenging your opponent slowly but steadily for this square. How we do it? I'll show you. So now white has a few moves that they can make, and I'll explain each one of them. So this is not that great response of white, because we can just take with the queen, and if white is like, okay, I'll just put my knight on e5, that's a huge mistake, because queen b4 check and suddenly this pawn will fall. So it's not that great for white. So after bishop takes d6, queen takes d6. If white is like, I'll play knight bd2, I'll stop queen b4 check. So then we can play knight bd7. The square is under our control, and at some point we are going to play e5, go for the central pawn break. Please remember, in London system from black side, if you are able to get the e5 pawn break, then that's great. And that would actually neutralize the activity of white. So after bishop d6, capturing the bishop is not that great idea. So, but now, what if actually white plays knight bd2? So white is like, all right, you want to take my bishop, you take it, I'll recapture, and then I'll have slight control, more control over the e5 square. So even though double pawns will be there, but still white's position is solid. So we are not in a rush to capture that bishop. So we can play castle. Once opponent plays bishop d3, now we can capture the bishop. Now, for some of you it may seem a bit strange decision that, okay, we were fighting for the square, but now what happened? Why are actually we exchanging the bishop? So we have a very lethal idea, and many of the players would actually fall for that if they are not careful. So we are going to play the move queen d6. By the way, please remember that I am showing you a solid line. So not some trappy sort of line that if your opponent knows what to do, then we would be in trouble. No, but at the same time, if we can combine both some tricks with our solidness of the line, then that would be great. And that's what this is, queen d6. Now, if opponent plays knight e5, centralizing the knight, what a great move. This is exactly what we were waiting for. This is a huge mistake. Queen b4. This is under pressure. This is under pressure. And we'll win one of the pawns next, and black's clearly better. So, but what if white plays g3? Because now knight is not on e5, so this pawn is defended. No problem at all. We still have a solid position. So please remember that this bishop can play an important role in increasing the pressure on the king side. So we can play b6. The idea is to play bishop a6, exchange that bishop. If opponent plays queen a2, stopping that. But we are not going to stop. We are going to play a5, and then bishop a6 can happen. We can exchange this active bishop. Then we can play c5, start challenging the center, and this is a perfectly acceptable solid position for black. So if white in this position plays knight bd2, then you know what to do next. Now let's look at the most popular move of white when we play bishop d6, that is bishop g3, an automatic response in London that okay, you play bishop d6, I'll go back. The idea is that if bishop takes g3 is played, h takes g3, this is the semi-open file. If we castle there, it will be a bit risky, but that's fine. We did not bring the bishop to d6 to exchange it to g3 now. So we can castle, a solid move. Then let's say in this position, opponent plays knight bd2, the regular London move. Let's challenge the center by playing c5, c3. Now here is where please pay careful attention of the setup that I'm going to show you, because this exact position you are going to encounter a lot if you play this setup. Now you have to play the move queen c7. Now move order is extremely important, because let's say if you play knight c6 and then after bishop d3. So I told you earlier, our idea is to go for the e5 pawn break. Now if we go for queen e7, yes, let's go for the e5 pawn break. Opponent can play knight e5 and suddenly it's not so easy for us to handle that. Now let's say after bishop d3, we are like, okay, I'll cover that e5 square and play queen c7. There is a bigger problem, that is d takes e5, suddenly if we take the pawn, our queen will go. So it's not so easy. So that's why we are changing the move order a bit and playing queen c7 first. Now since the knight is not on c6, d takes c5 is not a possibility. So if opponent plays bishop d3, continues with the regular development. So here is where we are going to make the important move knight d7, not knight c6, because as I showed you earlier, there will be d takes e5 and this pin will actually make things a bit difficult. But now knight is on d7. D takes c5 is not a threat because we can capture it with the knight. And if opponent plays castle, then we have a very simple move, e5. We can strike at the center. And remember, if we get e5 in the London system, that's already fine position for black. And now this is, black has the pawn in the center. Black will develop this bishop. And this is, yeah, a completely fine position for you to be in. No need to be afraid of the London. Now let's say if your opponent in this position plays, before you play knight d7, before bishop d3, your opponent plays knight e5. Your opponent is like, I'm not going to allow you to play knight d7 and e5. No problem at all. See, we put our knight on d7 because we wanted to stop those d takes e5 tricks. But now d takes e5 is not a threat because bishop takes e5 is actually coming. So no need to put the knight on d7. Let's put it on c6. But white is like, okay, I will play f4 and strengthen this knight. Every pawn move creates some weaknesses. Yes, it has strengthened the knight, but this square has become an outpost square. So, and please remember this deep idea, a simple idea, but a bit complicated at first. But stay with me, I'll explain the whole thing. So this has been strengthened, but this has become a weak square, an outpost square. How to take advantage of it? You can play in this position knight e7. You'd be like, wait, what's the plan? We'll see. Opponent can play bishop d3. Knight f5. We have no problem with bishop takes f5, e takes f5, because look at that bad bishop. Then we can play rook e8, move the knight, even play f6 and kick this knight. So bishop takes f5, not a good idea. Opponent can play queen f3. Let's just defend this. Now we are going to play b6. Let's actually develop the light square bishop. And then here is the plan of keeping that knight on f5. That is the quiet but lethal move, bishop e7. At first it would seem like, wait, what is going on? Why are we going back with the bishop? So it is because of this square. The point is that if rook e1 or something, then this knight actually gets to d6. So this was the main point. Knight c6, knight e7, knight f5, bishop e7, knight d6 and control the square. So please remember, next time if your opponent in London system plays this f4 type of idea to strengthen this knight, Don't get worried and try to take advantage of this weak square. And yeah, this is, you are going to get one of your knights on e4 next, and this is a fine position for black to play. So this is a solid repertoire that you can play against the London system and stop your opponent from tricking you or outplaying you. So also, if you want me to cover any specific lines or any specific openings in the next set of videos, please let me know, and I might create a video on that. So thanks everyone for joining, and please share your experience later once you play this line against the London system. How has it been? And are you able to win more games because of this? Right. Thank you.